Hello everyone, Mohammed here. Just gonna make this quick video regarding burr adjustment, grind size, and very runny coffee. So I see a lot of users recommending changing the internal burr setting on your machine in case your coffee was very runny. And I see a lot of users see this advice getting to them in the comments and attempting to do this to their machines. I'm just gonna tell you why you shouldn't do that. Okay, so here I've got two Barista Expresses. That's the latest. This is the second version, but that's not important. So this is brand new, unused. This is a 5-year-old machine. Now, when you take the bean hopper out, this is the burr that everyone talks about. So this is what it comes from factory. It usually comes. This is not important. So 10 or 7. This is the outside grind size adjustment, and this is the internal burr. Every machine that I've seen comes from factory at 6. So grind size number 6. My phone. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. That's about halfway through the numbers here. 1 is the finest. So people say when you get a new machine, change this setting from 6 to 3, which is very fine. I don't think you should do that because that will make your grinder grind extremely fine. So when you so at number 6, for example, and here it's halfway through the range, it's at number 7. This is what the burrs distances are. So this is the distance between the burrs. You can sort of feel it and you can hear it as well. It's not too close, it's not really touching, but it's on the edge of touching. So let's say I go from, let me click it in place first. Let's go to number 1. That's the finest. That's the finest at the internal number 6. So you can hear the metallic sound more. So it's still it's closer to touching, but it's not like horrible. This is good. I think this is more than capable of doing a good espresso, especially if you're using freshly roasted beans or a fresh bag of supermarket beans, for example. Different bags will have different ages and different brewing properties, but the fresher beans they use, the better pressure you'll get because they'll have more gases, they'll be easier to brew and get good cremas with. Now let's see what happens if you take it from a 6 to a 3. So I'm going to put my phone down. Hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So this red dot is at 6 at the moment. I'll take that from 6 to 3. So that's quite a lot finer. Let's see what happens. Okay. I don't want this video to be too long, but I'm trying my best here to tell you everything. Now it's at number 3. Let's put it back. Now, this is grind size number 3, and halfway through the external adjustment, you can hear this metallic sound. This is actually these lines, these serrated edges touching those serrated edges. That's no good. They shouldn't be this close. And some people put this all the way to 3 and this all the way to 1. This is horrible for the burr. Like I can barely close it now. It's quite tough. So if you do this, your metal burr will sort of grind itself, and that's not good. That's gonna make your bean your grinder grind very coarsely, and your beans are gonna come out. Maybe they're gonna come out fine, but that's very quick way. That's very quick way to wear out your burr. So I wouldn't recommend this at all. If you have to grind this extreme fine setting to get good pressures, you're probably using very old beans or very stale beans. Obviously, not everyone can afford the luxury of getting freshly roasted beans. They're quite expensive. But I recommend trying to experiment with different supermarket beans. I mean, some beans will grind better. And you should avoid stale or old beans altogether. So yeah, this is very fine. This might damage the bean. This might damage the blades. And it's no good. It's just going to reduce the life of your burrs, the top and the bottom. So I'm going to put this back to factory soon. This is, I think people do this because they think That's just the way it works with the new machines. I would disagree. This setting here is set to is there to account for the wear over the years. So machines from I think 2017 and up, I started including this internal setting in the grinder. And this is there just in case you use the machine for a few years, you run out of numbers here, you set this one setting finer. This will give you about probably three or five numbers here. So for example, if I was on setting number 5, with this on 6, if I take this down to 4, if I take this down from 6 to 5, that'll probably mean I've just went down 3 notches. So 1 notch here equals 3 notches here, roughly. This is not exact. But yeah, so let's say you use the machine for a few years at setting number 6 here, and it's giving you not perfect pressures. You will set this down 1 or 2 numbers down, but that's after a few years. So this is there to count for the grinder burr wear over the years. Or for example, if it's very, very bad from factory. So I would only change this maybe 1 setting at a time if the machine is new. This machine here is 5 years old, so 5 years worth of grinding coffee. And this is actually the older, the first version where you didn't have the internal setting. So the burr doesn't actually have settings. So this is the burr as is from like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Even as is, using properly fresh bag of beans, not freshly roasted from the cafe or from the roasters, just a good bean that I use, I can get good coffees at setting number 3, maybe setting number 2. It is closer to the finest setting, so I might need to change the setting internally here. There is a mechanism to do that. But what I'm trying to say is, after 5 years, I haven't had to do anything on this machine. So that's why I don't recommend you change this at all in the first few years of the machine, unless you really had to. I would recommend looking at your grind size. I would recommend looking at the bean age or the bean type that you're using. I would recommend making sure you're dosing exactly 18 grams, tamping properly, distributing properly. All these factors will help you fix your runny coffees. If you have runny coffees, it's due to 3, maybe 4 reasons. First and foremost, bean freshness. Secondly, grind size. Thirdly, dose. And fourthly, the tamp and the distribution. That's just the order that I can think of right now. So before bothering with changing this or getting your machine back to Breville, just make sure you're using fresh beans and you're dosing 18 grams. If you're not doing those 2 things, you will get runny coffee regardless of whether you set this to number 1 or not. Yeah, and the other point that I want to make before going is that on this old machine, using good beans, I don't even need to go to the finest setting or adjust the internal burr. So yeah, this is a very long way of saying don't change the numbers on your bean, don't change the numbers on your internal burr, especially if your machine is new or close to new. Yeah, hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. But yeah, hope you enjoy the machine. Cheers.